I've been traveling all over the world with my cameras, which is an absolute privilege. From the favelas of Rio de Janeiro to Venezuela to Japan and Iran, to name but a few. And I've never felt unsafe or had a bad vibe about a place until now. It feels weird. I've always taken good precautions when traveling with my cameras to avoid unwanted attention, which is the smart thing to do. Cape Town is the first place that I've really felt this dodgy vibe, even at the daytime. It's not so much regards to the safety, it's more the vibe. And it's a shame because it's such a beautiful city. It's a very fragile beauty because you don't have to dig deep or walk far to see the dark side of the social inequality and poverty. So I want to touch on the topic in this video by talking about travel photography in potentially dangerous places. First, I think a healthy approach to travel photography is, of course, to do your own research. And I've always been a strong believer in going somewhere to see what it's actually like for myself before I listen to any well-meaning advice that comes from whatever people take from the media, because the media will usually give you the dark side and the really bad news. So I think when I traveled to Iran for a month is a very good example of that. You get all the bad news, and Iran is perceived as very dangerous to travel in, but I've never felt safer than when I was in Iran to do street photography. So go figure. It is the most welcoming country I've ever been to, which was a huge surprise. Another good example would be when I spent 2 weeks in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro by myself. I lived in a favela called the Vidigal favela in Rio and had a wonderful time. I walked around with my cameras daytime, nighttime. I had no problems, did not feel a dodgy vibe. You of course have to be alert and mindful of your surroundings when you walk around with a camera, but that goes for certain places in Oslo, Norway, where I'm from as well, which is considered to be a very safe country. The funny thing about Rio was that I felt safer in the favelas doing my street photography than walking on Copacabana, which is a very touristy central area of Rio. Anyways, we've had nearly 2 weeks here in Cape Town, and naturally I've been wanting to go out and do my street photography, but unfortunately it just didn't feel comfortable, even though I had my camera nicely secured on my wrist with my Peak Design wrist strap and all that, and hid it nicely in my small camera bag. And this is such a shame because this is a beautiful city. The reason I felt uncomfortable was not because I feared for my safety really, but rather because of the poverty and all the unfortunate souls begging for money and food, etc. on the streets. So I do street photography as an activity I love doing for fun and to enjoy myself. It just felt wrong for me to enjoy myself doing this while all these people around were clearly in very difficult situations. And I felt more like the problem, as being in the exact opposite end of this scale. So I take this as reference and a reminder of being privileged as privileged can be, and I put the camera away. I do photography to capture everyday interestingness and to create better memories for myself and my travels, not as a journalist to document the hardships of the life on the streets here in Cape Town. So this may seem a little bit strange coming from a street photographer, I don't know, but it is what it is, I guess. Cape Town just took me a little bit by surprise in that sense, since I have these other references from potentially dangerous places or perceived dangerous places such as Iran and the favelas of Rio, where I found a completely different vibe. But since we are on the topic, let's discuss how to keep safe while traveling with our cameras. Let's first distinguish between the safety of certain places, and I differentiate like this. You have safe places, all thumbs up, great, fantastic, no problems, you can enjoy your street photography. Then you have the be mindful places. This is for any major city in Europe, I would say, and beyond, of course. And then you have another category I think would be best described as perceived as dangerous. And I think there, again, Iran is a good example, as it is perceived as dangerous. Everybody thinks that Iran is really dangerous. You can't go to Iran because then you will get robbed and whatever else horrible stuff will happen to you. But that's the negativity of the media. I wanted to see it for myself after I'd done some research of people that had actually been there, and I found it to be one of the most welcoming places I've ever done photography in, and in general. Next up is the really dangerous places, such as, for example, Johannesburg. Anywhere in Joburg, I would not do street photography, simply because you are quickly identified as a tourist. Believe me, they will know, they will pick you out as a tourist or a foreigner or whatever, especially if you try to do something with a camera, because people don't do that. They don't even walk out with their phones in daytime even, because they can get robbed. And believe me, the thieves up there, they have their methods and they will pick you out and follow you. Yeah, that's what I experienced anyway. And to me, Cape Town lands somewhere between the be mindful category and dangerous, depending on where you walk around. So downtown where we stay is definitely mindful, and at daytime. At nighttime I wouldn't do it. Book up area would be mindful. Don't go there at night. Waterfront could be good day and night, I think, because of all the security. Maybe you are of a different opinion. Let me know in the comments, especially if you are a local photographer. I would be very interested to know what you have to say. Now let's talk about general safety and precautions you should do. Please do research of the place that you want to visit. Most places are okay, but this can save you a lot of time and frustration. Cities in Europe are mostly okay with the be mindful approach. Here in South Africa, I feel safe enough walking around. I just don't want to flash a big fat camera. You can use your phone if you want to do some photography, because after all, phones these days are great to do photography and video. Next would be to dress down, not undress, but dress down and drop fancy jewelry if you are into that. Also have your bag or backpack in front, so you are always in control of your belongings or know where they are. When I traveled to Colombia in 2018, I had a big backpack with me, nicely strapped and everything, but it was on the back there, and I got into a very crowded metro in Bogota, I think it was. And all my stuff was nearly stolen because somebody had managed to unzip everything and had their hands down in my backpack when someone started to shout and warn me. So I turned around like this and just saw the person like so in my backpack, and they ran off. And it was so crowded that I couldn't pursue anything like that, but that was a wake-up call for me. So ever since, when I travel to places like that, and when I have my big backpack, I have it in the front there, unless I can lock it somehow. But that's a very good tip for you. Then you have to be alert and aware of your surroundings. I had a guy following me a little bit after I had flashed the camera and waited maybe too long at a potential spot to try to get an image that I didn't get. So I walked around and I was just mindful of this person. He was clearly following me. It wasn't the great feeling, but I didn't feel any danger per se. I just knew that he was mostly interested in my camera. But I just put it away, went into a cafe, had a coffee and waited for a bit, and then I went out again. Not for street photography, just went back home into the building where we stay. Last thing that might go without saying is to get your insurance. Should you find yourself in a situation where somebody tries to rob you at gun or knife point, just hand everything over. You can claim your insurance money back and get your stuff back that way. It might suck, but it's not cool to end up hospitalized because you refused, because you didn't have insurance. So stay safe while traveling. These are just some thoughts from your Uncle Traveling Dan. We do love South Africa, we really do, and the countryside here is amazing and generally super safe, like Hermanus and Plettenberg. I can highly recommend those places. It's lovely. Yeah, but that's it, I think. Before I start waffling, watch this next, or there. There. Watch this next if you're into Africa and traveling. And with that, I shall say bye-bye. Hope you subscribe, leave a thumbs up, that would be awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.